D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Willie Donick will join us momentarily. He and the Nashville Predators have landed in sunny Los Angeles, where the Predators start their critical road trip tomorrow against the LA Kings. Before the show, Chase McCabe walked in here and handed me a certificate of appreciation for 1 year of service with the Cromwell Radio Group.
That's appreciation, brother.
I feel appreciated.
And
unless this is some sort of sick April Fool's joke and there's a pink slip tied on the other end. Nope.
Nah.
I'm safe for now.
Don't get too safe. No, I'm just messing with you. April Fools. But no, appreciation awards or plaques or
This is going right on the fridge next to all of my son's artwork.
And you could tell your son, this is what happens, when a company appreciates you.
When you work hard, you get a certificate.
Yeah. And that's just them showing their appreciation. So, some companies don't do that.
Well, I appreciate
some companies
1025 The Game.
Come and work. That's it. That's all we care
I'm
about.
glad 1025 The Game appreciates me. Now, some of you may not appreciate me. There was some guy on the text line yesterday morning when I was on Robbie and Rex Road who said some very mean things about me on the text line.
Don't take it personal, even though it is personal.
The favorite insult lately, I've noticed when aimed at me is, he's clearly never played a competitive sport in his life. Okay, great. Have you?
But that's not
Am I not allowed to analyze sports if I haven't played sports?
But that's not something that you're running away from. That's not something that you like, oh, I'm so ashamed. No, it's you. You've embraced it.
Right. I wasn't an NFL wide receiver like Derek Mason. Yeah. I wasn't a dual sport collegiate athlete like Willie Donick. I'm sorry. Okay.
But you never act like you were. That's like the big thing.
I've never shared my moments of glory.
That wasn't a moment of glory.
My walk-off reach by error in Little League baseball.
That was the bunt, right?
It wasn't a bunt. I think I hit it.
There's a slight tap.
Yes.
There was not a lot of force on that hit,
which threw everybody off.
It dribbled towards the third baseman.
They're like, Adam can hit.
It should have been an easy out, but the first baseman dropped it.
Hey, so
winning
sad.
Run came in to score. That's all that matters.
I'm sure they all still talk about that play to this day.
I can't believe we did that to Adam.
I know, that's true. I hope somewhere somebody remembers that other than me. But I digress. Derek, you told me before the show you have something to get off your chest.
Yes, I hate it. And frankly, I was laughing and before the show, and I just may get fired. I may just walk off, because I'm just upset, man. You know what I'm really upset about?
Because you did not get a certificate of appreciation.
Well, that too.
You are appreciated. By the way.
I am.
Willie's here. Hi, Willie.
Hey, Will.
Hello, guys.
What's going on, my brother? I'm about to vent my grievances.
Please go right ahead.
Yes,
go right ahead.
So, and this grievance is not toward anybody here. It's toward those that promote movies, that put out trailers for movies. Please, for the love of whatever, please stop giving away the whole movie. Stop it. I've watched like 3 trailers and basically I've seen the whole movie. Like Steven Spielberg, stop it. I don't want to see the whole movie. Do like you used to do. Just give me a little sneak peeks, like a whisper here, a word there, just a flash there, and coming out March 18th, 2005 or 1997. Just give me a snippet. Don't run a 5-minute trailer.
Derek likes a teaser trailer, not the official trailer.
Yes.
He likes the teaser.
Trailers are no longer teasers. They are flat out movies. It probably cost them an extra $30 million just to give you the trailer.
I have a friend who is a major cinephile.
There you go.
Who goes to movies all the time and does not sit down in the theater until the trailers are over because he doesn't want the movie spoiled. He purposely avoids the trailers in the movie theater. And this is a guy who goes to the movies multiple times a week.
Because he understands what I understand. They basically give you the whole movie in 3 to 5 minutes. So stop it. Teasers used to be teasers. Willie, you know, go to the theater, go to the drive-in, you have your popcorn, and they just give you 30 seconds of E.T. and you like, ooh, I want to see that.
Let's
I
all
can't
go
wait.
to the lobby.
Exactly.
Let's all
It's just
go
like,
to the lobby.
they've gotten away from that. Now it's you sit down and you watch 5 minutes of the whole movie.
You know what used to make me mad? When you would see a trailer and there would be a scene in the trailer and then you went to the movie and that scene wasn't in the movie.
That's how they get you.
That always used to bother me.
That's how they get you.
Willie, where do you stand on this important issue?
I'm confused. I don't know what happened to Derek. What set this off? I hadn't noticed. I have not noticed this change. I guess maybe I'm just not going to the theater as much.
Yeah, Willie, I'm a big movie guy. I love movies. I always have. I
love a good movie.
I couldn't go when I was younger because it was, 7 of us. So my mom and dad ain't paying for 7 people all the time. And we all wasn't getting stuffed in the trunk, of the van so we can get in the drive-in free, even though we did it a couple of times. But I love movies. So I like watching trailers because it gives me just like a snippet. It used to give me a snippet, and I'm like, okay,
so
cool.
What was the movie? When did you realize they were going too far?
I realized it
one
really.
particular movie?
Really, I realized it like when they started doing like the trailers for Jurassic Park, like these action movies. You started to see more and more, especially movies that really didn't garner a lot of attention, even when they were at the theater. So it was like they were giving you all this stuff, and then you get in the theater, and it's like, man, this movie's trash. That's what, but they continue to do it now, and it's like I don't want to see the whole movie. And that's basically what they give you in a 5-minute period. And it's like, I can't get away from it. Steven Spielberg has like 3 movies coming out, and I can't wait to see them. But they're giving you basically the whole movie and the premise of it in a trailer.
Now, Willie, you are in Los Angeles right now. After the show,
yes,
I need you to go to a major studio and let them know what Derek just said. That's your homework after the show today. You need to go to
I'll talk to
whichever.
And if you can find Spielberg, please relay that message.
I feel like I can't be far. He's got to be close by. We're going to go to the Dodgers game tonight, too. So maybe he'll be at the Dodgers game. We'll have to see somebody over there. Yeah.
That is a good idea. Now, gentlemen, in this business, we plan ahead. Mm-hmm. We make sure that our show every single day is planned, but there are days when you have to throw out the rundown. There's major news. A coach gets fired, a GM gets fired, a player gets traded, and you have to fly by the seat of your pants. And today is that day because the Tennessee Titans have signed Hendon Hooker. Throw out the rundown. Throw it out.
Wow. Vol fans.
Out. I know that all of you Vols/Titans fans out there are going to be normal and cool about this. But Hendon Hooker, throw out the rundown, Willie Donick. He's a member of the Tennessee Titans at long last.
Oh, as soon as I saw that, I was starting to harken back to some of the, freezing cold takes is still a thing, right? On the internet, the awful announcing, which is every announcer's goal is to avoid being on there for the wrong reason. Occasionally they shout out people who do the right things announcing. But I feel like there could be a lot of freezing cold takes from our station about Hendon Hooker.
Rex Road.
There were a lot of people that wanted him in the first round.
Rex
to be
Road.
drafted by the Titans. I'm not naming names, but I think
I am.
I can't remember 100%, but I do believe there was some serious Hendon Hooker stock.
Would his name be Rocks Road?
It could be Rocks Road. I may have mispronounced Rocks Road and said Rex Road.
Rocks Road.
Definitely not Rocks Road. He would never.
Oh man. Well, I mean, he's for Vol fans, that wanted the Titans to
VFL,
draft
baby.
You've gotten your wish via free agency.
What are they going to do with him?
I don't develop him, I guess.
Say hello to your third string quarterback.
Basically, in its essence, that's what it is. He may end up on a practice squad because now you can carry 3 quarterbacks. So that helps out guys like Hendon Hooker, that they can have him on the roster, but then he not count. I forgot how the new rule is with the third quarterback because of what happened in San Francisco.
It still takes a spot though, right? You still
I'm
have
not
to
sure
put on a roster.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I think they may have added us. Yeah, you're right. They did. It would take away a spot, but when you're talking about game day, it's different.
On game day, it doesn't take a spot, but
yes.
he has to be on your roster,
Yes.
or if you put him on the practice squad, obviously he could be snapped up at any moment by another team. But
I'm not sure. I mean, again, it's unfortunate. The unfortunate part is, this is a guy that, was at one point, if you're just talking about the way he was orchestrating the offense, what he was the best, if not a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the upcoming draft. And then he gets hurt. And then he's an older individual. I just think all those things sort of worked against him. And again, I've said this for years. The University of Tennessee, and I know Heupel is a really good coach, really good. Offense is awesome. But his offense doesn't set you up for development for the next level. It just doesn't, whether it be the quarterbacks or the receivers. I haven't seen other than Jennings, has there really been a Vol receiver that has gotten to the NFL over the last 5-6 years? Receiver or quarterback that has gotten into the NFL and has been able to develop?
I mean, he's no Josh Dobbs. He's no Joe Milton.
No, even those guys, they are journeymen. So that was the unfortunate part about him, because I think had he not gotten hurt, he would have got drafted a lot. He probably would have got drafted in the first round, and they would have shown more patience with him.
But that was always the thing for me, is that when you have a guy like Hooker, who is a product of the COVID and the extra eligibility, late bloomer, it's not like you can't be patient, but the clock is different for Hooker. Hooker is 28 years old already.
Yeah.
And he's been in the league for a couple of years. Of course, I think the first year he was completely out.
In the league going on 3 years now.
Yeah, he had the ACL, so he didn't appear in any games last year. In 2024, he was barely in there. Yeah, so he's had a lot of time in the league, but now he's sitting there at 28. So what do you have?
As Jim Wyatt writes, Hooker, a third-round pick of the Lions in 2023, most recently spent time with the New York Jets. In his NFL career with the Lions, Panthers, and Jets, Hooker has played in 3 games and completed 6 of 9 passes for 62 yards. Hooker spent time on the practice squads with the Panthers and Jets after being waived by the Lions in August 2025.
But this is an opportunity for him. I will never say never in this business, because via injury, you might find yourself being a starting quarterback in this league. But I think for him now, he has to develop, and he just hasn't had time on task in the NFL. One, because of the injury, and then, after that, it was, you're playing catch up. And like Willie said, you're an older individual. So he may end up staying in the league for a good while, but it's going to be some more years, because he's going to have to develop. And it's hard because you're either going to be the backup quarterback or the third string quarterback.
And look, at the end of the day, Hendon Hooker, as Derek just said, he's probably at the very most the Titans' third string quarterback. But as I said, I know Vols fans, and Vols fans are level-headed. They would never take this, too far. And if Cam Ward even struggles a little bit to start next season, put Hendon Hooker in. Why not give him a shot? Why not give him a chance? As I said, Vols fans, be cool about this, okay? It's happening 3 years after you wanted it to happen, but it is happening. So just take a deep breath and don't go crazy.
For the sake of love, hook him and put in Hooker. Jeremiah Love.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, man.
But I mean, think about the 4 guys that they've got right now, and they're very unique stories.
It
I
is
mean,
a
they all
strange
have-
group. It is a strange
Yeah.
group.
They've all had, you think about. I'd love to roll some tape of all of the things said about those 4 guys coming into their draft year, right? So Trubisky was a high first-round pick, right, who hadn't started a lot of games. Hooker and Levis, boy, did we ever talk about those 2 guys leading up to the draft. Holy cow.
No, you're right. And ultimately, both of those guys, and all 3 of them, but Trubisky has, experienced some success in this league as a starting quarterback, but the other 2, one has never started, and Will Levis, he had his ups and downs. So, but you're right. More recently, these guys were coming out, Hooker and Levis. You talked highly of him, especially before Hooker got the injury. I think he was on par when you're talking about Heisman Trophy winners. I think he was up at the top 2 or 3 at that point.
When the Lions drafted Hendon Hooker, that made him the franchise's highest drafted quarterback since Matthew Stafford went number 1 in 2009.
But they ain't need to draft another quarterback. When they got Matthew Stafford, they ain't need to draft one.
That is true. 615-737-1025. All right, Vols fans, be cool about this. Hendon Hooker is a member of the Tennessee Titans, probably as a 3rd-string quarterback, but he is a member of the Tennessee Titans. 615, at long last, 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, we will be joined by Vanderbilt men's golf coach Scott Limbaugh. Vanderbilt is hosting the Mason Rudolph Championship. No, not that Mason Rudolph, speaking of Titans quarterbacks. But Vanderbilt is hosting the Mason Rudolph Championship this weekend at Vanderbilt Legends Club in Franklin. We'll talk to Scott Limbaugh about that tournament coming up next. 615-737-1025. Speaking of golf, tee it up with us at the 5th annual 615 Open, May 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are once again supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. Register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on Charlotte at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35 p.m. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Family Leisure and Social Cantina. Sounds, by the way, won last night 7-3 against Charlotte on opening day at First Horizon Park. We'll see if the Sounds can keep it going. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Vanderbilt men's golf coach Scott Limbaugh. Scott, hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. So Vanderbilt is hosting the Mason Rudolph Championship this weekend at Vanderbilt Legends Club in Franklin. For those who are unfamiliar with this event, what is the history and significance of this championship?
Well, you know, it's a special part, I think, of Vanderbilt golf. Mason Rudolph was a longtime coach here at Vanderbilt, and just a very well thought of figure in the community here, and former Ryder Cupper. And so it's always been special for me during our time here to educate our players on who he was and what he stood for. And yeah, we're super excited about the field we've got coming in, and going to have a beautiful weekend of weather. So it's going to be fun.
So let's talk about that field, Scott. By my count, 14 teams participating, including the #1 ranked team in the nation, the Auburn Tigers. Describe for us the caliber of competition that your team will be facing this weekend.
Yeah, it's one of our best fields we've had here. We've got 6 SEC teams. We've got 5 teams ranked in the top 20 in the country. And as you mentioned, certainly Auburn, #1 ranked team. And they also have the #1 amateur in the world, Jackson Coyven, who's already secured his PGA Tour card. So we've got truly 3 of the top 10 amateurs in the world, and really a chance for the community to see the future of the PGA Tour out here this weekend.
Now, Coach, when did you realize that this was going to be a really good season, not just for your team, but players individual?
Well, Derek, thanks for that. We lost 2 outstanding leaders and players last year. Gordon Sargent, who's on the PGA Tour, and Jackson Van Paris, who's, top 20 on the Korn Ferry Tour right now. And so, as you're trying to always build and new parts come in to replace what's left, this week we're going to be playing 3 freshmen and a sophomore in our starting 5. So, but you know what? That kind of energizes me and energizes the program. We were fortunate to welcome the #1 recruiting class in the country, and it's fun to see those guys jump in and kind of raise the boat, as I like to say. So obviously Wells has had a tremendously consistent year, and he's been there for us every week. So it's nice to have a senior like that kind of, steering the ship for us.
We're talking to Scott Limbaugh, Vanderbilt's men head golf coach. Now, Coach, we've had basically the gamut of Vanderbilt coaches, because you men and women have been doing an excellent job, especially this season, of each one of your collective sports or individual sports doing extremely well. And I've asked them all the same question, which I'm going to ask you as well. How is the synergy, and what makes the synergy so special amongst the coaches there at Vanderbilt? Because it seems like all of you are tied together, regardless of what sport you're coaching. It just seems like that community is really tied together.
Well, there's no doubt, Derek. And, I listen to you guys frequently because I'm a little bit of a sports all-around nut. And I've been at Vanderbilt for 14 years. So I've kind of, I guess, along with Coach Corbin, I've probably been here one of the longest amounts of time. But it really does start at the top with Candace and Chancellor Dearmeyer. I think just the way they support us. I mean, we've got a brand new golf facility down here, and they don't just talk about trying to give everybody what they need to be the best. They also back it up. There's a lot of places talk about it, but when they support programs like ours to that level, it really says a lot about their commitment to being excellent in everything that we do.
I'm talking to Scott Limbaugh, Vanderbilt's men's golf coach. And Coach, it's Willie here coming at you. Thanks for joining us today. I want to pass along hello from Coach Fogler. Our connection between the two of us. I played for him at Vanderbilt. Of course, you coached his son, Ben. And he speaks so highly of you every time I talk to him about your program. So it's been fun for me to follow and watch Ben come up through the ranks. I can remember when Ben was born, back when my senior year in college. So we've come a long way.
Well, thanks for that, Willie. Yeah, Ben was when I got here, I didn't know a player on the team in 2012, and Ben was one of those guys. And hey, he's exactly what you would think Coach Fogler's son would be, tougher than nails, you know. And I'm kind of that way as a coach. Like, even though it's golf, and we kind of coach like any other sport would coach. And man, old Ben, you just couldn't run him out of the lineup, because he was going to, whatever he handed you at the end of every day was everything he had that day. And so just a lot of toughness there.
Scott, I'm curious with your sport particularly, because every sport's unique, but golf, with the line that's always been there with amateurism, being the low amateur at a big tournament is a big thing. Now with NIL, how has that affected your recruiting, and when you advise some of your best players to go pro? How does that work?
A good question, and NIL certainly is a part of the process. Now, for us, we just embraced it. I love for our kids to, if they go out and do something for themselves and earn that kind of the right to make a little money. I think that's outstanding. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But we don't love it when young people or families lead with that in recruiting. I think because we're a little bit different with our education piece, and the families that we recruit really value that. So we virtually had 0 players enter the portal or things like that. So ours might not be as, changing year to year, but we stay on top of those things. And certainly, we've got some guys that have reaped the benefits of those opportunities.
It's so incredible to watch the SEC in a lot of sports, but golf has got to be right up there, where of the top 25, there's going to be in a given year 10 or 11 from the SEC that are going to be right in there contending for a national championship. So how does that work to your advantage when you're recruiting, and maybe the competition and the pathway it takes to try to win at a national level?
Yeah, I tell you what, when you look at our SEC, I really don't like studying it too much, because, they're, like you said, I don't know how many of the top 25, but we've got 4 in the top 12 coming in here this weekend. And that's just, in our tournament here in Nashville. So the additions of Oklahoma and Texas, they're perennially both a top 5 team in the country in golf every single year. So I think that stuff can kind of, this is where the best players want to play, is in the SEC. And for us, we just want to recruit the best and the brightest. And I think that's always, I spent some time at Alabama before coming here, and Coach Saban loved golf. And he would always tell us, and that's always kind of been my philosophy, it's okay to recruit great players and miss, but it's not okay to recruit players that you can't win championships with. And that's always kind of been, you got to have high character, but you do got to have great players. And we've been fortunate. We just signed the number 1 class in November as well. And that's the cool thing about Vanderbilt, is just we're able to get kids from virtually everywhere and anywhere that want to, be excellent in the classroom and on the golf course.
Vanderbilt men's golf coach Scott Limbaugh has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick. The Commodores are hosting the Mason Rudolph Championship this weekend down in Franklin at Vanderbilt Legends Club. Scott, thank you so much for your time. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Y'all come hang out with us this weekend.
We would be happy to. 615-737-1025. It will be a beautiful weekend. It's also, I also do have to say this. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, I'm dropping off my wife and kids at the airport. 5 days without family.
Dun, 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 dun.
Party, party, party.
Dun, 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 dun.
I think you've got the wrong song there, Derek. That was bad to the bone.
I know, I'm just saying. But the other one is when you come sliding out.
Bob Seger. Yes. That's what you were looking for.
I will from Risky Business. That's Adam.
Yes, I will miss the wife and kids.
I'm not letting you borrow my car, though.
Why?
The movie.
It's going to end
when
up
they
in
bu-
the
exactly.
lake. That's what happens.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. I mean, you do have cool cars, Derek.
Yeah, it's going to end up in Cumberland.
Oh man, if that happened, Derek would be. Oh boy. If you've seen Risky Business, you know what we're talking about. That is a classic scene.
Now
my
I'm thinking
goodness.
about the scene from Fast Times at Ridgemont High where Jeff Spicoli
Similar.
crashes Forrest Whitaker's car, which I can't recite on the air,
Right.
but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, Robert Saleh was at the NFL owners meetings earlier this week out in Phoenix, had some interesting things to say. We will get into some of that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Swing by John Daly's, located at 1907 Division Street in Nashville this Saturday for a basketball watch party. You do not want to miss it because it's brought to you by Good Boy Vodka. Enjoy $25 of Good Boy bucket specials, and 1025 The Game will be on site from 5 to 7 p.m. with prizes and more. Don't miss it. Only at John Daly's.
The best way to help a young quarterback is through run game and defense, and I've said it before. I love our running back room. Just last year, Tony Pollard dropped over 100 on us in San Francisco, so I think he's a damn good football player. It's a great 1-2 punch. They both run with physicality. They both have versatility out of the backfield. So I'm a believer in our backfield, and I think it's a group that can help our team.
There you go. That's me tomorrow afternoon after I drop off my wife and kids at the airport. They're going to visit the grandparents.
With tire tracks, like smoke coming off the ground.
Absolutely.
Bye, honey. Bye, Arlo. See you later.
Music changes.
Don't call me. I'll call you.
Exactly.
No, I will miss them dearly. That was Robert Saleh earlier this week at the NFL owners meetings talking about the current state of the Titans running back room with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. As Derek just reminded me, the Titans also signed Michael Carter today, along with signing Hendon Hooker. Ring the alarm. Michael Carter, who played for Robert Saleh in New York, if I'm not mistaken. So he's in there as well. He's a depth piece. He's not a starting running back in the NFL. But I hear what Robert Saleh is saying there, and he's saying the right things about Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, because Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears are the running backs on the roster right now. But you know this show, specifically Derek, we're hoping for Jeremiah Love. And I do wonder what that would mean for either Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears. If the Titans draft Jeremiah Love, is there room for the three of them? Or is somebody going to be on the chopping block? I'm actually amazed by this, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought Tony Pollard was older. He's 28. He'll be 29 at the end of this month, so he'll be 29 during the season.
Mm-hmm.
But he had another 1,000-yard season last season, 4 in a row for Tony Pollard. If I recall correctly, it took him a little bit near the end of the season to get over that 1,000-yard threshold. Although, as Willie has said in the past, being a 1,000-yard rusher doesn't have the same oomph to it as it, doesn't hold the same
weight anymore.
Exactly. So let's build this out. Let's fantasy book here. If the Titans were to draft Jeremiah Love, what do you think that would mean for either Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears?
Well, they're telling you right now what it means, because they already have Kalen Mullins on the roster that they drafted. That's a special teams guy. They went and got Michael Carter, who is essentially a special teams guy. So that leaves you Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. If you drive Jeremiah Love, to me, the odd man out is Tajay Spears. He is, because he's a guy that you've tried to develop. And I'm not saying that Tajay hasn't developed, but his skill set will be taken up by Jeremiah Love if indeed you draft him, because they have similar skill set. That means you can keep a guy like Tony Pollard because he's totally different than what Jeremiah Love is. He's totally different than how you wanted to use Tajay Spears. And then Michael Carter and Mullins, those guys are essentially special teams guys, depth pieces that you can have on your team. So if indeed they do, I think they're already the writing's is on the wall. And if I'm Tajay Spears, which I think he's a good player, I really do. But for whatever reason, it just he hadn't been able to put it all together consistently. So if I'm him and his representative, I'm looking to see if I can find another situation, because again, if they draft Jeremiah Love, he is the odd man out.
Willie, do you agree with Derek?
I think they're setting up themselves to have options with some depth pieces in the moves that they made today. And let's, for the record, talk about Robert Saleh for a moment here with these comments he makes. He's pretty convincing, but now this is the third time. I'm taking this with a grain of salt, because he waxed poetic about Devondre Sweat. You could read between the lines when he talked about Sweat that there might have been some question as to whether he was a fit, but he also was like, he was pretty complimentary, and then he was really complimentary of Will Levis.
Mhm.
Not too long after that, and in both cases, they went in a different direction within days of him saying some really positive stuff. Right? They traded Sweat, and then they brought in Mitch Trubisky about a week after. He said he had this great talk with Will Levis that he was excited. I've seen him play. When he was against the Jets, he's got some tools, all of this stuff. Have a great offseason. Then they turn around and sign, Trubisky, and now they've gone in and gotten Hendon Hooker. So I don't know if you can really believe what he's saying about Pollard. I'm sure he thinks he's a good player and everything like that, but I don't think I would read into that at all as to what they're going to do. But they've set themselves up with options, right? If they don't go with Love, they've got depth at the tailback position now with Carter. And like you said, Spears. But obviously, if they pick up Love, they've got trade pieces or they're just going to have to cut somebody.
Again, I love words. I love listening to people.
Parse away.
I love to parse. And you're right, Willie. When he's spoken about these individuals, he spoke in glowing fashion. He said, I love my running back room. They all are good guys. All of them. At least Pollard and Tajay Spears, from what we know. So why wouldn't you love your running back room?
I thought for a second there you were going with the coded message. He loves the running back
I didn't
room.
go that far as conspiracies.
It's a secret message.
Now, if you want to go down that road, we can't. No,
I really love
no, but what I'm saying is
the running backs. Love.
When he says those things, he's not fibbing. He's not lying. What he is doing, though, is he's being broad in a sense, because I love my running back room. I love those guys. I love the makeup of those guys. What about the production, coach? What about how you see your running back room compared to some other running back room? Do you think you have a dynamic running back room? Do you need a dynamic player at that position? That's what should have been asked, because I can get away with, I love my wide receiver room. I love them. These guys compete. I love them. What about the production, coach? Do you think you can get better at that position via the draft? Would you want to upgrade that position? See, he hid behind it by saying, I love my running back room. He should.
He's very positive. Other coaches
Exactly.
might say, hey, nothing was good enough. I'm taking over a team that's won 3 games for 2 years in a row, or however many games they've won over the last two years. It's not a lot. So you can be as positive or not as you want. The bottom line is the team isn't good. It hasn't been good. They have to make improvements to the roster. So, some would be a little more honest in saying, Tony Pollard had 1,000 yards, but a lot of it was at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
There were some lopsided games. He got some yards. I mean, he referred to the 100-yard game he had against San Francisco. That was a blowout.
Yeah,
right. That's how valuable is that at the end of the day? They're not a great running game that scares the opposition.
No.
And so they should be looking to upgrade at every position group, not just running back.
One texter says, what would you have him say about rostered players? Well, Robert Saleh, I guess, could have taken the Mike Borgonzi track, which is like, Tony Pollard is a player on our team.
Yes.
like that's all he could have said.
But it's not. I get what the texter is saying. Well, what would you have him say? Well, I know that if I'm looking at this game from a production standpoint, from the standpoint of where could we use a dynamic player, I know my running back room when it comes to, because again, the 1,000-yard mark across the board, wide receivers and running backs, if you are a starter, it's been grossly diminished. Making 1,000 yards now is not like it was before.
What do you think that line is now? 1,200
for receiver? I think both.
Or for running back.
For running back,
1,200.
Yeah, 11, 1,200. Yeah, 11, 1,200.
I think at least
11. Yeah, 11,
sure.
because you're playing an extra game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a running back that is getting at least 20 to 25 carries, then okay, you should be ultimately, it should go that way. But again, if you look at that running back room, I like the players. I like Pollard. I like Tajay Spears. I don't think I've ever sort of shied away from that. But what I've always said too, they don't have a dynamic player in that room. They just don't.
There were 17 running backs who eclipsed 1,000 yards last season. There were 3 who reached 1,500. There were 8 or 9, I'm sorry, that reached 1,200.
So the 1,200, if you're going to be a top back, the 1,200 should be that benchmark if you're going to be a top back in the NFL.
So 1,200 is the new 1,000.
Yes.
It is, but we also have to remember
less carries.
It's a lot more efficiency, right? If you get the ball 300 times, you better get at least 1,000 yards. I mean, you wouldn't be averaging, if you had 300 carries for 1,000 yards, that's what, 3.5 or something. That's not a lot of yards per carry. That's not efficient for the most part. So how many times are you touching the ball, and what's happening when you touch the ball, and who's your partner? What are you getting collectively? That's really the end game.
Tommy says, I think this tells us we're not drafting Love. Now you have 3 backs, Pollard, Spears, Michael Carter, not to mention they re-signed Julius Chestnut. So that's 4, and then 5 if we still have the Michigan kid Mullings from last year. So that is 5 running back. Well, it would be, that is 5 running backs.
But I mean, it's not uncommon for a team to go in and camp with 5 running backs.
Right.
So I don't think even them bringing in Michael Carter means that, they're not in the business of drafting a running back. Again, you have, out of all these backs we've named, you probably got a collectively all together maybe 8,000 yards in their career altogether, and the bulk of it is Pollard. So you can't tell me that this is a running back room that you are satisfied with. Do they have some good players? Yes. Do they have guys that can be pieces in this? Yes. But do they have a dynamic guy and they have an opportunity to get one? They don't, but they do have an opportunity to get one. So to say the running back room is all right, based on what? That you got a 1,000-yard rusher? I need a dynamic individual in that back. And that's why they drafted Tajay Spears, because they thought he was going to be that type of back that brought that type of play.
One texter says, we've got to have a legit playmaker on this team. I like Pollard, but ain't nobody game planning around Pollard or Calvin Ridley. They will beat Cam down. If not in the draft, when? Well,
what did they call Pollard? The Honda Accord, right?
I believe that's
Teron said he's the Honda Accord.
Yes, I believe Nick Westbrook-Akine was the Honda Accord at one point.
Pollard he may have been the Honda Accord too, or one of the other cars that they said. I don't need a Honda Accord right now. I got enough of those. I need me a Ferrari. I need me a Bentley, something that can go fast and that's physical. And he's that. He's a big back that is pretty fast. That is a dynamic player. I need a dynamic car. I got enough of the running the mills. I need a dynamic car.
And that's why I am on the Love train, because I do think the Titans, to the texter's point, the Titans desperately need an offensive player who can get butts out of seats. I heard what Robert Saleh said. We talked about it yesterday, that edge rushers can be playmakers and game changers too. And he is absolutely right. He is absolutely right. When Myles Garrett is bearing down on a quarterback, Browns fans, they get incredibly excited. And watching the impact, boom, Browns fans love it. Titans fans, if that was David Bailey or Arvell Reese or Reuben Bain, Titans fans would love that too. But there's something about a running back who can do that. I know wide receivers can catch deep balls, but there's something about a running back breaking a long run, breaking tackles, cutting through a hole, and running 60 yards. That is so satisfying. We were talking about this yesterday with the biggest daggers in sports, right? The ball going through the hoop, swishing at the buzzer. To me, I'm not sure there are more. You guys tell me. I'm not sure if there's a more satisfying play in football than a running back breaking off a big run and taking off 70 yards down the field. And Jeremiah Love has shown in his career that he can make explosive plays. So
listen, there's a reason why, it's called, the 4-minute, 4-minute drive, or this is our 4-minute time. And when you run the 4-minute sort of offense, you need a running back. There's a reason why you need that guy, because you want to wear down. And what does it? And it's as much as a deep pass, down the right sideline to AJ Brown, and he got up and the crowd cheer. I know as much as they cheer for that, they cheered even louder when Derrick Henry just mauled over people.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
just that energy that the run game brings, not just to the team, but to the stadium. And you're talking to a former wide receiver. So when you have an opportunity to get that, why not? Especially when it is a position of need, I believe, for the Titans. Why wouldn't you go out and get that to pair him with your quarterback? Mind you, there's been one season, and I repeat, one season where Myles Garrett didn't have double-digit sacks. That was his first season. How many times have Cleveland Browns been in the playoffs in that span?
How many years is that?
What? It's been 10 years, I think, almost now.
Has it been 10 years for Myles
17,
Garrett already?
Almost. It's been 8 seasons.
So how many years have the Browns made the playoffs with Myles Garrett?
Since 2017. 2017 when he first got there? Yeah.
Twice?
You may be right. I don't even know that. That's the point.
Yes.
The Cleveland Browns, I think they've been one time that I can remember within the last couple of years, because Joe Flacco led them to the playoffs and they end up losing in the first round. But besides that, I don't think they had been to the playoffs more than once prior to 2 seasons ago. If I'm correct.
We'll check that out during the break. 615-737-1025. Speaking of the NFL owners meetings, Mike Borgonzi, during his super secret meeting with reporters that nobody was allowed to video or anything like that, said something that didn't make Titans fans feel that great. We will discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Derek Mason. And if you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. But Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. So call 1-800-LAW Tigers or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Houston, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Street South. And don't forget, go to predatorsbike.com to enter to win the custom Nashville Predator Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team, courtesy of Law Tigers and Music City, Indian. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. New Belmont men's basketball coach Evan Brads will join the program in about 20 to 25 minutes. I promise we will not relive our shared trauma of what happened over the weekend. For those for those who don't know, Evan Brads spent this past season as an assistant coach for Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we're going to speak of it for today. But we will discuss Evan Brads' new role as Belmont men's basketball coach.
If you don't ask, Adam, Derek and I will.
We will. Don't worry about
it. Just to watch you. Exactly. Just to watch you have to endure it.
Why do you want to make Evan Brads sad? Today is supposed to be a happy day.
My team didn't make it
for the Brads for the Brads family. It's supposed to be a happy day.
What did you say? Misery love company?
Yes.
So there you go.
Today is supposed to be a happy day. He's the head coach of his alma mater, arguably the greatest Belmont men's basketball player there is. And you want to live his trauma again? No. We're not. Well, okay, you guys can bring it up. I don't care. We will get to Evan Brads in roughly 20 to 25 minutes. Some reaction to our conversation about Titans running backs. One texter says, it's literally not a position of need. Y'all obsessed with Jeremiah Love, and that's okay. But stop it with the position of need crap. Go look at Pollard and Spears' average yards before contact. Hint, it's negative.
Listen, again, I am not going to argue whether, the offensive line didn't play well at the beginning of the season. They started to play well toward the end. So I've never said that I think Pollard's a good back. I think Tyjae Spears is going to, barring injury, I think he's going to spend a good amount of time in the National Football League. Maybe not as a feature back, but a guy that is going to get some carries in this league. But again, if y'all are just satisfied with that, then okay. All right. If y'all are just satisfied after having Derrick Henry, Chris Johnson, Eddie George, and any other back that has, really those three backs in a Titan uniform that have raised the bar of how you run the football and what that position should look like. If y'all are okay with just okay, then okay. But I'm not. In this league, you need dynamic players to win. The Titans don't have enough dynamic players. I think, Willie, you said every position is a need outside of the quarterback for the Titans. Every position. Damn near, or group. Let's say that. Every group is a position of need for the Titans outside the quarterback position. If we want to be honest, this is a dynamic player. Everybody believes this, not just one person. And if you have an opportunity to draft a dynamic player, which you don't have, then you draft it. That's not saying that Pollard is not a good player or Tyjae Spears hadn't served his role on this team, and I think he's a good player. But I need more than good at that position.
One texter says, Spears is missing an ACL. I guess if you don't have one, you can't tear it. I mean, I guess. Let's go to Adam on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Adam, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? I think D-Mace is completely right. I mean, if you look back at the Titans' history, it's all about running, right? The good, solid running backs, and drafting Love would just be a continuation of that. Back in the day, I used to be a Charger fan before they moved to L.A. That's a whole other separate story. But when we drafted Tomlinson and we had Breeze, Breeze was there for a little bit of Tomlinson, and then it came in with Rivers. But when we had that dynamic running back with Tomlinson, with Breeze and Rivers, that was exciting. Good stuff. That's it, guys. I think we need to draft Love. D-Mace is right. Let's go Titans.
Thanks, Adam. Validation, Derek Mason.
There's nothing wrong with fortifying every position with the Honda Accords. Our reference of the day is, just your steady, economy cars or whatever you want to call them, cars that get good gas mileage. You need those guys.
Exactly.
And so you're not going to have the Ferrari at every position, but you do need a certain amount of Ferraris on the field if you're going to win, and that's what the Titans lack.
Let's let's talk about something that is running back adjacent.
Mhm.
So at the NFL owners meetings, by the way, Derek Mason
Yes.
is eating a Kit Kat. He must have been the
Yes.
mastermind behind the Kit Kat heist.
Oh, has he got a truck somewhere we don't know about in the woods?
I just noticed this. There is a huge shortage of Kit Kats, and Derek Mason just so happens to have one. That seems fishy to
Oh,
me.
yeah, my stash. I'm not
Have
telling
you been in
everybody.
Poland the last 6 or 7 days or however long? that's
His
been?
attorney's here. He will not. He will decline those
Yeah.
comments. Whatever comments you
I
have.
may
go
or
through
may
your
not
attorney.
have access to Poland. Let's say that.
Derek, no more talking. Your attorney's here right now. We invoke our Fifth Amendment right to stay silent.
Okay.
All I know
Unless
is
anything.
there's a wooded area near our station that would be a great place to hide stuff like that. So if anybody wants to do some exploring along Murfreesboro Road back in the wooded area, there could be some evidence back there. I'm just speculating.
Sorry, that distracted me.
Yes.
I haven't seen the Kit Kat since I learned about the Kit Kat heist, and Derek Mason just so happens to be here. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together. All right, back to Mike Borgonzi. So Mike Borgonzi held this super secret news conference, scrum, whatever, with Titans reporters who made the trip out for the owners meeting. So there's no video, no audio of any of this, I guess, unless you go on Paul Kaharski's phone or Easton Freeze's phone or Jim Wyatt's phone. If you can hack their phones, let us know. Don't actually let us know. But here is something that Paul Kaharski wrote at his website that I think concerned some Titans fans. Quote, "Don't expect center or right guard to be settled for the Titans before the draft. The team could be so draft reliant for interior line help that Mike Borgonzi didn't shake off the idea of 2 rookie starters playing in front of Cam Ward this season." From Borgonzi, quote, "I wouldn't rule it out. We started Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith their rookie years in Kansas City. You go through camp and the best guy wins the job. You have time here in the offseason. Once you draft them, you go through training camp. If they're ready to play, you put them out there." So Mike Borgonzi, at the moment, not ruling out the idea of having 2 rookie starters on the offensive line. Don't love that idea, Derek.
I can see them because I did this mock draft this morning. And, once you get into that, 4th, 5th, 6th round, that's when you got to start making decisions on, truly how am I going to build the depth on this team? Because, your first and second rounders tend to be those starters that eventually you want to become starters. Not to say that you don't want the 3rd round and beyond to become starters, but a lot of times they are, backup players at first, and then maybe after a couple of years, they may earn a spot by play or injury, and they end up keeping it. But when you start to look after those first couple of rounds, you say, okay, how am I going to build this team? And with every sort of simulation I did, it was like, well, I can just add to my offensive line. Because again, in this business, we know you can't have enough good offensive linemen. You just can't. Because there's only so much you can do when guys start getting injured. And you got to start pulling from your practice squad or trying to sign guys. And as we know, if you have some good offensive linemen, you ain't giving them to nobody else. So it's harder for you to find. So what do you need to do? Develop your own. So I can see them as they start to get in the later rounds, 4th, 5th, where they draft multiple interior offensive linemen. And they may end up starting because, they develop the way they want them to develop. So I can potentially see 2 rookies starting on this team. Is that ideal? No. But I could see that potentially happening.
At the moment, Willie, it looks like your offensive line from left to right is Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, insert center here, possibly a rookie, insert right guard here, possibly a rookie, and J.C. Latham. They signed Austin Schlotman. They signed Cordell Volson. Or is it Kendall Volson? Cordell or Kendall? I can't remember. Either way, they signed Volson. They signed Austin Schlotman. They have Jackson Slater. Kevin Zeitler is still out there. And I don't know at what point they just move on or if he's weighing his options. Maybe he wants to retire. I don't know. I would hope he comes back because he was solid at right guard. But I'm thinking if you want the offensive line and by extension Cam Ward to make progress, you need that continuity. We've heard that so much. I believe, Derek, you've said this many times, that it's so important, maybe more than any other position group, for offensive linemen to have that continuity, to build that chemistry.
Mhm.
And again, on paper, the idea of Dan Moore, and we've talked about this a lot. Dan Moore is Dan Moore.
Mhm.
He's going to give up a lot of sacks. You had to overpay him in free agency last year. You had a need. It is what it is. Skoronski has really come on here. J.C. Latham, I thought, had a promising end of the season, but Lloyd Cushenberry is gone. Who knows with Kevin Zeitler? Schlotman has shown some flashes in limited action. I look, I know the draft is upcoming. Things can change, but at the moment, it's not a great look.
No, and I was just looking at my simulation, and like I said,
Simulation of what?
the draft.
Okay.
My guys that I drafted, and
Makes sense.
It would pick 109. I picked Florida's interior lineman, Jake Slaughter, and then 2 picks
Wait,
after
does
that.
D-Mace have a website with a mock draft? Are you joining
Billy
the scores
Schroff.
of people that are putting out mock drafts?
I'm not putting it out, Willie. I just wanted to do it because because this draft, I think, for the Titans is an interesting one. Well, the last couple will be or have been an interesting, because this is a team that they do have some young depth. They do have some older people, but it's like they still need some spark plugs. There's still some things that are missing with this team. And when you go into a draft, it's not like we are in dire need like they were last year. They were in dire need for a quarterback. So that's why they drafted a quarterback last year. Are they in dire need of something? People say, well, edge rusher. I don't think they're in dire need of an edge rusher. Could they use an edge rusher? Absolutely. Just like I don't think they're in dire need of a running back. But they are in dire need of an impact player. That's what they are. And it seemed like in this draft, I was able, at least with the first 2 picks, and some people probably think like, why did you draft that guy at 35? I drafted Eli Styles at 35.
He's not an offensive lineman.
I
Derek
know
Mason.
he's not an offensive line, but I'm just saying, I'm looking at this team and I'm trying to, because do you necessarily need another tight end? If we look at the tight end position, we would say we got a young guy that seemed to show promise. They went and got a veteran guy that knows Dabo's system. But wouldn't adding someone like Eli Stowers upgrade that position tremendously?
So is what you're saying that the offensive line being incomplete
Yes.
isn't as much of a concern to you as finding dynamic players on offense?
I think 2 things.
Because you need an offensive line.
Yeah, because I think 2 things can be
True.
sort of true. I think they need a dynamic player, but I also think they plugging those holes in the offensive line is going to be paramount too. I think both can live. That's why, well, if you're drafting, if there was an interior lineman that they had a 1st round or a 2nd round grade on, there may be. And if they're able to nab that guy, then I would think you would draft him, right? But if there's not a guy that has ranked that high, why am I then going to pick him in the 2nd round? I'll wait to pick him. So when you got a chance to draft another dynamic player like Eli Stowers, even though, again, it may not definitely be a position of dire need, but it upgrades the position tremendously if indeed you do draft him.
Now, I don't remember, Willie, how celebrated Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith were coming out of college. Creed Humphrey, I want to say, was a 2nd round pick. Trey Smith was a late round pick, but that was because of health concerns, right?
Right.
And Trey Smith has turned out to be an excellent offensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken. So I see what Mike Borgonzi was trying to do there. Hey, it worked for us in Kansas City, but as we know, just because something worked out in one place doesn't mean it's going to work out in the next place. So I do think, and I am curious about Kevin Zeitler, because again, I thought Zeitler was solid at right guard, and you knew that was going to be the case when you signed him, but he's still out there. Sounds like he's weighing his options. I assume he's contemplating retirement. But I am sort of surprised that he is still unsigned. Maybe the Titans think that, hey, we'll get through the draft. We'll see if we draft someone. And if we don't find someone to fill that spot, Kevin's waiting for our phone call. But when you talk about the development of a young quarterback, we've talked so much about Jeremiah Love. We've talked about the receiving core, the addition of Wan'Dale Robinson, bringing back Calvin Ridley, which was, I think, in part because the two of them, Ridley and Ward, had developed chemistry. But that offensive line is such a big part of it. And I don't like what I'm seeing right now.
I'm wondering why, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't the report come out that there was some communication between the Titans and Zeitler?
I believe Kaharski reported that,
at the beginning. I wonder why is it that they haven't made a decision on Zeitler?
Maybe
or is it Zeitler?
Maybe the ball's in his court. Maybe they have.
I think it's probably more likely that it's Zeitler saying, you got to make it worth my while or I'll just retire. I mean, he could be. This is pure speculation. But I'm just saying it would be plausible that a guy that's played that long would say, you know what? If I get a good deal to come back that I'm happy with, I'll play. If not, I'm perfectly content to hang it up here. It may not be a situation of going to another team, but it may just be, it's got to be worth my while at this point.
He made $9 million last season.
Right. So if they're offering him 6 or 5, then he might just say, you know what? I'm good. I don't know that, but it would be nice to replace one guy on the line and not 2. You've got the 3 pieces that I think are really the anchors of the line. So it's relatively easier to replace a guard and a center than it would be to replace 2 tackles. But we got to be patient here. It's April the 1st. They've got a long time.
Patient? You want me to be patient?
Yes, this is not the USFL from the 80s where they played.
I'm being tongue in cheek, of course. Patient? I don't want to be patient.
Give him time.
I mean, it could be, because I think you gotta. We have to understand. Zeitler's been in the league 10 years, 12 years, somewhere around.
At least that long.
Yeah. So the psyche of an NFL player at that age that has been a starter, his thing could just
Zeitler has been in the NFL for 14 years.
Yeah, his thing could be,
he's 36.
One, is it worth my while to be a backup? Not necessarily the money,
but he wouldn't be a backup here.
But if you hear listen to what I'm saying, based upon what Saleh is saying, that we can go, in theory, we can go into the season with 2 rookie offensive linemen. It seems like they don't mind doing that. Would you want to do it ideally? No, but it seems like they're almost, at ease with potentially having to do that, which tells me, in part, it could be Zeitler saying, listen, man, if I'm coming back for a year, I got to be penciled in as a starter. I'm not coming back just to sit the bench. I have to come back to be a starter. Who wouldn't feel that way as a guy that has been a starter for so long in this league? And it's not like he was bad when he played. He was pretty good when he played, when he wasn't injured.
Well, I would be curious. How did they grade him? I don't know what the Pro Football Focus numbers say or anything like that. Because they also might be weighing what would we pay Zeitler versus, based on what his performance was not 5 years ago or 3 years ago, but last year, and what do we think he's capable of in year 15 of his career, as opposed to a rookie that we might like in the draft.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the state of the Titans offensive line. Mike Borgonzi telling reporters earlier this week that the Titans could start 2 rookies on the offensive line. 615-737-1025. 1025. We'll take your reaction also. But coming up next, new Belmont men's basketball coach Evan Brads will join the program, rejoining his alma mater, his first head coaching job. And Brads has had an interesting career. He's been a coach in the NBA. He's been a coach at a high-level program in college. And now he's heading back home where he was one of the best players, if not the best player, in Belmont men's basketball history. So we will catch up with Evan Brads coming up next. 615-737-1025, 1025 The Game, and Team Boxing League. Have your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets as Nashville Smash takes on Phoenix Fury at Municipal Auditorium on Friday, April 17th. Just text the keyword FIGHT, F-I-G-H-T, to the game text line at 615-737-1025 to enter to win. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We will soon be joined by new Belmont men's basketball coach, Evan Brads, on our phone line. That's coming in just a couple of minutes. Caleb on our text line about our offensive line conversation says, no one is familiar with coach speak. He's leaving the situation open as a possibility, which that's all it is right now, a possibility. Caleb, it's parsing season, my friend. The NFL draft is thankfully this month, now that it's April. The NFL draft is thankfully this month, but we still have like 3 weeks to go. So you got to parse. That's how you get through these slow times. You got to parse. So we're parsing Mike Borgonzi. That's what we're doing. I don't like the idea of 2 rookies starting on the offensive line. I'm allowed to say that.
I mean, it's not, again, it's not ideal for you to have, 2 rookie offensive linemen, especially playing next to each other, whether it be the center in the right guard or the center left guard. But in this situation, center and right guard. But it could potentially happen. So I guess it could be a good thing too, because these individuals get to grow together. So
let's go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com, and welcome in new Belmont men's basketball coach, Evan Brads. Hi, Evan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
We're doing well. Now, Evan, I told my co-hosts that we will not relive our shared trauma about what happened Sunday, but they are making me, so blame them. I am a Duke fan, so I'm still licking my wounds about what happened.
Yeah, you play these games long enough, and whatever sport it is, we all have one of those, don't we? And that one was hard pill to swallow. It was a tough ending to a really hard fought game, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to process it yet. But Coach Bird always used to say the sun will come up tomorrow, and it did. So now it's good to be here in Nashville.
So let's look ahead. So you've had a lot of excellent experiences as a coach in the NBA and in college, but describe how it felt when you were presented with the opportunity to return to your alma mater as head coach.
Yeah, I mean, it was the day that a dream turned into a reality, to be honest with you. Never would have I ever thought that I would be sitting at this desk right now as the head men's basketball coach here at Belmont. Obviously I care about this university and this program as a former player, and the opportunity to lead it as the next men's basketball coach it was a dream come true. It's the best way I can describe it.
Evan, at the start of the NCAA tournament, there was a lot of discussion about the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots because of the dramatic transformation of the NCAA landscape. You just experienced one side of it, coaching at Duke, which has no shortage of resources. How will your time in Durham inform your experience back at Belmont in regards to building the best possible roster without as many advantages?
Yeah, my year at Duke was incredible for so many different reasons. It was essentially, a crash course into college athletics at the highest level. And there are a lot of differences. There's changes that happen every single day in college athletics, and that's just the world that we live in. I've always been someone that you run towards the problems, so you hit them straight on the head, and you don't speed away from them in any regard. So I do know that it will be different, but I'm excited to hit those challenges head on and see what happens and try to build the best roster we can.
now, Coach, all of this stuff is coming to you fairly quickly. You just in the tournament, and now you're being introduced as the head coach at Belmont. But you have to put your staff together, and you have to do recruiting. How has all of that been for you, and how do you tackle that so quickly?
Yeah, it honestly started the night that it was announced on the internet that I would be the next coach. First order of business was, call the players that were on the team last year and just, try to get to know them as people. I had fortunate enough to watch a good amount of Belmont basketball last year and the season that they had. So I had a pretty decent feel for who they were as players. But just wanted to really get to know those guys as people and not just players. But, and then when you said it, when it comes to building a staff, trying to do that lot of time on the phone. I thought at one point the AirPods were going to become glued to my ear. But, you try to balance that with also, trying to help Duke and finish the season strong with them as well. Again, a lot of time on the phone, but a lot of black coffee, to be honest with you. But, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Evan Brads, the brand new Belmont basketball coach, is with us. And Evan, this is a lot of fun to see you come back to Nashville. You were such a great player for Belmont. For people that didn't see Evan play, I don't think he missed very many shots when he was at Belmont. Just tore people up for field goal percentage. So good. And Evan, as Adam mentioned, you've been some different places since you left Belmont as a player and gotten different experiences. What do you think was the one or two biggest things you took out of your experience at Belmont under Rick Byrd?
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's a tough one, to be honest with you. There's a lot, that I could say here. I think, something that I truly believe in that, for all those who know Coach Byrd, they'll know exactly what I say when I say this. It's all good to, win a bunch of games, win championships and all that. We all love that. But, Coach Byrd was a better person, a better human being than he was a coach. And, that's something I strive for at the end of the day. Like, I would rather be remembered as a good guy and a good person rather than a good coach. That was a big one for me. And then, the other part was just the people that you bring in and surround yourself with every day are, a reflection of how your program will be. I think our former players are the reason why this program is so great. Obviously we've had a lot of talented players, in the past years and even in the Atlantic Sun and the NAIA days that are still around today. They love and care about this program. And again, they're just a reflection of Coach Byrd. They were talented, but also better people.
And Evan, it's got to help you with the transition that you just mentioned is a process, right? You're already hammering away on the phone and trying to figure out who you got, but you walk into a situation that's got to be really familiar with Brian Ayers still on your staff and Scott Corley, the athletic director, having played at Belmont. Greg Sage has been around. You got a lot of people that were there when you were playing.
No, for sure. And, all those people you just listed, they know what it takes to be successful at Belmont. So you talk about surrounding myself with people who are the best in the business and know what it takes to win at Belmont University. I view myself as extremely, extremely blessed that they are here. Again, they all deeply care, not just about the university and about the basketball program, but the athletes as a whole and the students that walk on campus every day.
So, Evan, when you got around to the different parts, let's just talk about Duke for a second. I'm a former Vanderbilt player, so I love poking fun at Adam and Duke. This is what Vanderbilt and Duke people do, I think, to each other, but there's certainly an incredible amount of admiration. So just getting around that program and, coming in from the outside and being a part of it, what was your takeaway from that?
Yeah, that was an opportunity that, I never thought would happen, to be honest with you. I never thought I'd be a college basketball coach in any regard. And then, I get an opportunity to go to Duke. And, the day you walk in, you see that everything you hear about, from the brotherhood perspective is real. The time and investment that former players give to the current team there is real. It's not just a saying, it's not just a logo. It's the people, who come back to watch games, who are willing to talk and text with the players it's real. And, just it's one of the highest levels and biggest brands of basketball in general. You know that logo anywhere you see it. And, again, it was an opportunity that, extremely fortunate to, have.
One of your fortes has been, skill development, things like that. You've been given some credit for working with a great player like Cameron Boozer, who's going to go on to some fantastic things. What was the project like? What is that process like when you bring in a talent like that, and part of your job is to try to help him get better?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it starts with film study. I didn't get a chance to, watch Cam play live in high school, just being in the NBA. So a lot of it started for me was just watching him on film, learning what he's really good at, which is a lot of things, and learning where he struggled at, which was not many things, to be honest with you. Working with Cam was incredible. You talk about a once in a lifetime talent. He's also a once in a lifetime type of human being too. So it was great working with him. Once we figured out where we wanted to go and what we wanted to work on, he's an extremely hard worker, extremely high level player, obviously, and high IQ. So it made it fun from the get go. Obviously some rough times here and there, but that's okay. That's how you get better.
Evan Brads is with us, the brand new Belmont basketball coach. Last one for me, Evan. When you watch the NBA now, at least for me, it's such an amazing thing to watch when there are basically at all times 10 guys that can hit a three, and most of those 10 can take a step or two behind the line and hit it. It's so hard to guard. And so I'm curious, when you went from that game back to the college game, what can you take with you from that experience? What translates to the college game and what doesn't?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like you said, the NBA has a pretty unique style of play. Like you said, there could be 10 dudes on the court at once that can hit threes. And, when I came back to college, one of the things that I thought translated no matter what, was spacing just in general, where you put your players at any given time, all in the pursuit of finding the best shot, finding the best advantage, finding the best opportunity. I think that translates for sure. I think there's other little things, like the offensive rebounding. It's a huge thing right now in the NBA, and you'll see some of the best teams in the country in college basketball are some of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country as well. Stuff like that. The cool thing about college basketball that I really enjoyed was just when I would watch other college basketball games and watch other coaches who have been around for such a long time. There's just so many different ways to do this thing we call basketball. There's so many different styles of play, and a lot of them have worked for a long time, and they're all unique in their own way. It's been really fun.
New Belmont men's basketball coach Evan Bratz has been our guest on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. Evan, thank you so much for your time. Welcome back to town, and good luck.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys.
615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction to our
Adam.
Yes, Willie.
I have a stat for you.
Okay.
Don't worry. This is not Duke. This is just to this is just to illustrate how great of a player Evan Bratz was at Belmont. He shot his career. He played 4 years at Belmont. His career field goal percentage. Take a guess of what it was. He was a post player. Okay, so he wasn't a 3-point shooter. He could hit an occasional three, but his game was in the middle. They surrounded him with shooters, and he just went to work in the paint. Just take a guess on his field goal percentage.
I'm going to guess somewhere in the high 50s to low 60s.
That would be a really good field goal percentage, wouldn't it? Okay, so Derek, what do you think?
Oh man, I would say about 60%.
66.7.
Wow, goodness.
2/3 exactly. Basically,
is that efficient or what? I mean, that he was, I think, a 2-time OVC Player of the Year, if I saw that right. But that was a fun team to watch. But all those Belmont teams sort of run together. They had sort of the same formula. They had a lot of different guys, but Evan Bratz was a standout. So he's 31 years old. So he's got to be one of the younger Division I coaches. That's a really interesting move. But man, he really does sound mature beyond his years. He's been a lot of places in a short amount of time, and he's got a great foundation he's stepping into. I'm really excited to see what he's going to be able to do with those guys.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, the Predators are back in action tomorrow, taking on the LA Kings to continue this long road trip as the regular season nears its end. There's been a lot of reporting about the Predators GM search, and there is one reported candidate who would be a tough sell for fans if he was hired. At least I think so. We'll discuss that person coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. But Law Tigers fights to get you the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They know how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. So call 1-800-LAW Tigers or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Street South. And don't forget, go to predatorsbike.com to enter to win a custom Nashville Predator Indian motorcycle signed by the entire team, courtesy of Law Tigers and Music City, Indian. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. The Nashville Predators are back in action tomorrow night in L.A., where that's where Willie is right now. Predators at Kings at the ungodly hour of 9:30 p.m. Central. So get your black coffee like Evan Brad's, your 5-hour energies, whatever you need. A 9:30 p.m. Central start tomorrow between the Predators and Kings out in LA. And yesterday, Willie and Derek, we talked a lot about the Predators GM search. We talked about how the Toronto Maple Leafs and their opening could affect the Predators search. But there's been a lot of reporting around the Predators GM search, including by our friend Elliot Freeman, who will join us tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And there's a name that's been popping up in a couple of places that, if this is the choice that the Predators make as their next GM, I think a lot of Predators fans are going to have a hard time grappling with it. And that person is Peter Chiarelli. Peter Chiarelli was the GM of the Boston Bruins when they won the Stanley Cup about 15 years ago, if memory serves. But most recently, Peter Chiarelli was the GM of the Edmonton Oilers. He had the grand distinction of drafting Connor McDavid. Again, if memory serves, if my timeline is right. But Peter Chiarelli, Willie, made some mind-boggling decisions as GM of the Edmonton Oilers. For instance, on the same day that the Predators traded Shea Weber for PK Subban, Peter Chiarelli traded Taylor Hall to the New Jersey Devils for defenseman Adam Larson. And then the following season, Taylor Hall was the MVP of the league under John Hines in New Jersey. He made some boneheaded contract decisions. It did not go well for Peter Chiarelli in Edmonton as GM. So some people deserve second chances. I'm not saying that Peter Chiarelli hasn't learned from his time in Edmonton. I believe he's been working with the Blues most recently in an advisory role. But I'm telling you right now, Willie Donick, if the Predators were to hire Peter Chiarelli, I'm not sure a lot of fans would be excited about that.
It's funny, Adam. I was flying out here to L.A., so I wasn't sure exactly where you were going to go with that. I read the article that you sent, and you know what? I thought you were going to say Ryan Getzlaf just because
that
of his villain status.
Yeah, well, that is true.
Villain, the captain of those Ducks teams that were so hard nosed and nasty, and that just amazing rivalry. The Predators, beat them 3 times in playoff series. But Ryan Getzlaf's been living in Nashville for a long time since he retired, and he's shown an interest in wanting to get into the game. But that's where I thought you were going. I would have to say, you're skipping completely over the fact that the guy who won a Stanley Cup is a GM, right?
Well, I would have to go back and look at how much of that team he built versus his predecessor. I would have to do that research. Yes, his name is on the Stanley Cup, but that was 15 years ago. I'm looking at his most recent stint as a GM, which was, to put it mildly, disastrous. Disastrous. He drafted Connor McDavid, but he made some. I mean, look, anybody could have drafted Connor McDavid. Derek Mason could have drafted Connor McDavid. But the moves that he made as Oilers GM did set that team back and prevented it from winning the Stanley Cup, I would say. Not all his fault, of course. But I'm looking at his most. Your point is well taken. I am looking at his most recent stop on his resume.
I do think sometimes we look at somebody, the recency bias, right? Somebody who doesn't do well in a particular spot and go, oh, man, why in the world would anybody hire that guy? Like Brian Daboll, or Robert Saleh. If you just go by their coaching record at their most recent stops, you would say, why in the world would you want those guys? But you have to look further than just the one stop that may not have gone as well. There's thousands of examples of that. And I'm not sitting here saying they should hire Peter Chiarelli or not. I don't know. I would venture to guess 90% of the Predator fans wouldn't know who Peter Chiarelli really was, or if they knew who he was or heard of him, they wouldn't be able to recite all of the moves that you just referenced. So I would just say keep an open mind on that. It's an interesting thing you point out because there's usually a reason a guy's available, right? The last stop probably didn't go very well. He's sitting out there looking for a job.
One thing that is interesting, and Elliot Freeman's colleague at Sportsnet, Nick Kyprios, reported this. He said, quote, when it comes to the names being discussed most, meaning around the league, not just for the Predators specifically, we have to mention Brendan Shanahan, Peter Chiarelli, Mark Bergevin, and Brian Lawton as 4 people with executive experience who might have their sights set on a president of hockey operations title. We also want to keep an eye on Chris Pronger and Ryan Getzlaf, 2 others being discussed for front office jobs who don't have the same kind of executive experience. It doesn't appear Nashville is moving in that kind of direction, as they've made it known they want more NHL front office experience than what Getzlaf or Pronger can provide at this point, end quote. I thought that was interesting.
I did find that interesting, and that's why I think you brought up yesterday, Adam, the part of the dynamic here, and that is when you have kind of an opportunity to reshape your whole hockey ops department. You can set a new system if you want. You don't have to just have a GM the way they've always done it. You could have multiple people involved. And so Getzlaf, who I mentioned has been living in the Nashville area for a good while now, he might be a really interesting outside resource to bring in, maybe not as the main man, but as some role. So you have this flexibility now to reshape how you want to do some things. It might be a blend of keeping some of what you would call the family together, right? Some people that have been with the organization know what it has been done, what's been done, how they've done it, and mix new ideas in there. So there's a lot of potential ways that you could go, and I mean I have no idea what they'll end up doing for sure, but I always listen to what Elliot says. It does sound like there are a lot of really up and coming candidates and guys who have done a lot of things as GMs who are very interested in the job.
And if the Predators are looking for a GM who has, if their preference, let me rephrase, if their preference is to have someone with experience, as Nick Kiprios reported on Sportsnet, they could theoretically hire a new GM, someone who hasn't had that job before, and complement him with an experienced former GM as president of hockey operations. So, for example, let's use Ryan Getzlaf. Let's say Ryan Getzlaf is the new Predators GM, which is a crazy thing to say out loud, considering, as you said, Willie, the history between the Ducks and the Predators when Getzlaf was the captain of the Ducks. So let's just say Getzlaf is the next Predators GM. They could hire Brendan Shanahan to be president of hockey operations. He's run an organization. So you have someone with front office experience, meaningful front office experience, working with someone who's never been a GM. Like I could see that as a way for the Predators to get an inexperienced GM, someone looking for their first shot at the big chair, but also having that experience to buffer them.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's that particular duo, but it could be something similar, right? Where you have an experienced person and somebody new, and it could be even somebody who has been an assistant GM for a long time for a successful organization that's ready to be a GM, but also you insulate that person with, like you said, the senior person that's been through it, and maybe those two have a history. I don't know. These are all things that I'm sure they're vetting right now as we speak.
We'll talk more about this with Elliot Friedman tomorrow. He'll join us at 5 o'clock as he does every Thursday during hockey season. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, back to the NFL draft. I have a question for Willie and Derek and all of you. And if you want to get a head start on answering it, you can do it right now at 615-737-1025. How far is too far when it comes to drafting outliers? What is the line you will not cross when it comes to an outlier in the NFL draft? 615-737-1025. We'll get to that next. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Be listening this hour because we have a 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam at Nissan Stadium on April 14th to give away. So if you want those tickets, be listening this hour and listen for the cue to call at 615-737-1025. But you heard the question I threw out there before the break. As the NFL draft nears in just a few weeks, how far is too far when it comes to drafting outliers? And I was listening to the Athletic Football Show earlier today. We do have a clip. We will play it at some point this hour. And the hosts were making a really good point. When you look at the top prospects in this draft, a lot of them are outliers. We've talked so much about Jeremiah Love. Drafting a running back with a top 5 pick, that's an outlier in recent NFL history. Caleb Downs is considered one of the best prospects in this draft. He's a safety. Safety is a non-premium position. You all know about Reuben Baines' short arms, right?
No, what are you talking about, Adam?
That's an
I haven't heard
outlier. That's an outlier. Even Sonny Styles is a physical freak, as you saw at the combine. Just blew the combine out of the water. But as Todd McShay noted, Sonny Styles has the chance to be the first off-ball linebacker drafted in the top 5 since Devin White went 5th in 2019 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So when you look at the top prospects in this draft, a lot of them, for one reason or another, would be an outlier. And it can be dangerous drafting an outlier. So here's my question for all of you and Willie and Derek, 615-737-1025. What is the line you will not cross when it comes to drafting a potential outlier? Some of you may say Jeremiah Love. We've talked so much about Love, but the idea of drafting a running back that high may give you the ick. So what is the line you will not cross? Derek. We could also throw in, for example, Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate ran at what? What did we talk about the other day? A 4.53?
Yes.
40? Some of you may say, too slow. Can't draft a receiver who runs more than the 4.5. That could be an outlier. But for you, Derek, what is that line that you will not cross when it comes to a potential pick and an outlier?
Man, I would say something that I wouldn't, no matter what, especially that high. It has to do with your injury history. If I'm drafting somebody that high, he can't be a guy that is coming off of, an ACL or some injury that has put him out the bulk of the season, especially if he hasn't gotten back on the field and proven to me or proven to our scouting department or our GM, whoever, that he's over that injury. And depending on what injury it is, yeah, I'm definitely not drafting, because we know and we've seen proof of it. ACLs, other, lower extremity injuries, whether it's your knee or your foot or something like that, torn Achilles. I'm not drafting you because it's going to be 2 years before you even get back to, close to that form. So for me, that would be a big no-no, especially that high. We're talking about top 5 picks. I'm not drafting if you're coming off a major injury like that.
Are there any top prospects who qualify?
I don't think not this year. That qualify that sort of in that same vein.
I'm trying to remember in recent history. Maybe Willie, you can help us out.
Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't play much his last year at Ohio State.
I don't think he did. Yeah.
They were pretty careful with him, and he shut it down. And there were some questions there, but he's obviously turned out well.
Yeah, it turned out great, but that's just something. And when I'm drafting, it's man, I gotta, because what you're doing is you're drafting your future, and you're banking on, that guy being an immediate impact guy that high. And if he's dealing with injury, then that immediate impact will not come. Just like the Corey Davis thing. He didn't run. even though I'm not going to put a huge emphasis on the 40, but if you don't run it at all, then that is another red flag.
So let me ask you this, Derek, based on our conversation earlier this week. Carnell Tate ran the 40 at the combine.
Yes.
He chose not to rerun the 40 at his pro day. Would that disqualify him for you?
No, because he already ran the 40.
Okay, so it's only if you don't run it at all.
You're not running, period.
Okay.
No, I don't, because
didn't Corey Davis have injury concerns coming out of college?
He didn't run, and he shouldn't have been. Shouldn't the Titans have drafted him? Yeah, that high? No, especially if he didn't run. He didn't run a 40. He was coming off a foot injury and didn't run a 40. So no, if I'm drafting you that high, then no.
So no injury, no significant injury history.
No,
even if you are a top prospect. I think that's a reasonable take. Willie, same question to you. What is a line you will not cross when it comes to drafting a potential outlier in the NFL draft?
I'm not sure I would have one that absolute, but if I had to pick one, I think I would stay away from, I would stay away from a safety. Maybe not as much the linebacker thing off of the ball. It does, I'm not a football guy, but I can think of some really dominant players. I know that it's easier to find these guys. This is why this philosophy exists. But I'm more open to the linebacker than the safety. I could be wrong with that. That's just me thinking. And then a center on the offensive line, I think I would probably shy away from that really high in the first round. There have to be some exceptions to every rule. Otherwise, you would never have players like Kyler Murray or the outliers that do get picked. They make up for it with something really special, at least coming in.
One texter says about your injury take, Derek Mason. What about Jeffrey Simmons?
He wasn't. Was he a top 5 pick?
He was not a top 5 pick.
He slipped pretty far down.
Yeah.
And we obviously know why.
He was the 19th overall pick.
I'm not. Yeah. I didn't say that I wouldn't draft a guy. I said that high. We're talking about a top 5 pick, top 4 pick, which the Titans do have, the 4th pick.
Yes.
I wouldn't. I would have huge concerns about drafting someone. Now, if we're drafting him later in the first round or in the second round, then yeah. But top 5 picks, those are instant impact players, especially in the top 5.
Let's go to Jay in Nashville on our phone line, driven by Wilson County Hunting.com. Jay, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
What's up, fellas? I mean, that's a tough question you're asking right now. As far as outliers and everything, like if I have too many loopholes in my roster, I'm not looking for an outlier. An outlier is not going to help me because I have too many the holes to fill in my offense and my defense. I remember last year they were talking about. I remember our Titans GM was talking about Travis Hunter. I think his name is. He's a generational talent. We're not going to pass up on him. Like, you better pass up on a cornerback is not going to help you. You know what I mean? I think, and I heard you guys talking earlier about like linemen and everything. And really, I mean, if I'm the Titans, I mean, I'm trying to build a line around. You know what? I was begging for them to trade that pick last year, but the kid turns out to be pretty good if you just protect him. And when I think about linemen, I think about the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s. What made them so good? Their offensive line and their defensive line was like amazing. Remember the Hogs, the Redskins back in the day. They had the Hogs. That made them amazing. Even Tom Brady had an offensive line so good, like he could sit back there, light up a cigarette, take a drag, and then, I got to throw a pass. You know what I mean? Take his time back there. And that's the key. Like, either you have to have a really good defensive line or really good offensive line. But as far as outliers, if my team is solid, yeah, I'm going to draft the outliers. That's the icing on the cake. But if I'm a top 4, top 5, and I got a lot of loopholes, I'm trading that pick for more picks so I can fill my loopholes.
Thank you for the call, Jay.
I mean, if they trade out of it, then so be it. You just make sure that you're able to, like the caller said, move down in position that you still can get guys that are going to help you immediately, especially if you're moving down further in the first round. So, if they choose to move out of that pick, that would be great because they would get more picks and they would be able to add more to their roster. As Willie always say, you have more darts to throw at the dartboard. So I'm not poo-pooing that sort of route if the Titans do take it, but if they're going to sit at 4, then, yes, they have areas that could be an upgrade, and running back is one of them. Rush in is one of them. I'm sort of out of that frame of thought that you can't draft a running back that high. I think football has evolved to if you have an opportunity to get an impact player right now, then you take them. Now, if you don't now if they didn't need a running back, then obviously you would go in another direction. But running back, just like rush in, is it a desperate need on both of them? No, I don't think it is. But I think they do need more impact players.
For me, I keep going. I know I'm dying on this hill at this point. I am dying on this hill. I just can't get over the short arms. I just can't. And I know that there are a lot of ball knowers out there, such as our friend Teron Davenport, who watch the film and say, Ruben Bain can be something really special. But again, I rely on data because I'm not breaking down film. I'm not grinding tape. My experience watching Ruben Bain has basically been limited to the college football playoff. And he stood out in the college football playoff. But again, I see these numbers. Again, this is from Todd McShay. I see these numbers, and as someone who relies on data so much, I just can't get past it. McShay writes that Bain is about to be the first edge defender selected in round 1 with sub 31-inch arm length in 2 decades. More importantly, there hasn't been an NFL defender with double-digit sacks in a season and sub 31-inch arms in 20 years. He continues, so as far as outliers go, Bain is looking to become a true trailblazer. And you know what? Ruben Bain may become a true trailblazer. And it may not be on the Titans. And maybe I'll look really stupid in a few years. But I just can't get past the fact that, and Willie, I know you've said this in jest, but you're right. His arms are 30 7/8 inches. So he's missing 1/8 inch. And then it wouldn't be a problem. Or maybe an inch and 1/8. It wouldn't be a problem. But at the end of the day, they're still under 31 inches. And there's too much data that tells me that even if Ruben Bain is a trailblazer, there's a mental block for me. And again, I am willing to look really stupid in 3 or 4 years if Ruben Bain becomes the next great edge rusher in the NFL. But the idea of drafting someone with the number 4 overall pick who has these sort of limitations, at least according to the data, it freaks me out. So that, to me, that's the outlier. And what's funny is McShay actually has Ruben Bain going to the Titans in his latest mock draft. So it could happen. But for whatever reason, I just can't get past it.
Clearly, you cannot get past it. But at the same time, I do think we have to say there are outliers that end up being great players. I mean, great players.
But to the caller's point, with the state of the Titans, they need sure things. Mm-hmm. They need a sure thing with the number 4 overall pick.
True. Is there such a thing?
I don't know if there are very few instances of someone being a 100% sure thing. But if you had to put a percentage on Jeremiah Love being a sure thing versus Ruben Bain being a sure thing, would you feel more comfortable with Jeremiah Love than Ruben Bain? Ruben Bain could be a great player, but there is something about him that is unique and not necessarily in a good way. So you're right. Players can be closer to it than others.
Yeah, but I think then you could, like, if you just want to use Love as the comparison, then you can get into the whole thing of the history of running backs picked that high recently, and the success rate and all of that. You might completely,
that is true,
think he is the best thing since sliced bread, but he's got to be that good to justify picking a running back that high. So every pick, for the most part, has question marks. We went through a bevy of them last year, talking about Cam Ward and all his flaws and everything Is he worth the first pick? Is he really even the number one prospect in the draft? Probably not. Not by the consensus of all the experts. Should they still take him? There's always questions. There's always questions.
One texter says, everyone is comparing Bain to previous short arm edges in the NFL. But what I want to know is who were the previous players with short arms who were as impactful and dominant in college like Ruben Bain? Were they also projected as a top 5 pick going into their draft? That's a good question. That's worth looking into, texter. But I'm more concerned about what he's going to do in the NFL. So
let's take it from a practical. Let's just really drill down into the short arms thing. You said it was like a 1 1/8 inch or something.
30 7/8 inches.
So that's almost 31 inches.
Yes, almost
30 7/8. So he's an eighth of an inch from being in the window, right?
If his arms were 32 inches long, this would not be a discussion.
Okay, so this is again something I know nothing about. Trevor Maddich gave a really good answer on our show about that as to why the long arms are such an advantage for an edge rusher. It makes perfect sense. Just like the longer arms an offensive lineman has, it's a bigger advantage. We heard that whole thing about Peter Skoronski. But I guess really when you get down to it, could, just from a common sense situation, does 1 inch on your arms make that much of a difference?
What do you think?
1 inch?
What do you think, Derek?
2 inches?
I mean, based on the analytics.
But I know how you feel about analytics, Derek. I'm talking from a practical player standpoint here.
I get the data says what it says. I mean, that is fact, right? You can't dispute that. Those are the numbers. I'm just asking from if it was 6 inches or, that something extreme like that, then I would say, oh, okay. But we're talking about, not very much measurement here.
Well, I mean, listen, basing it, because obviously I am not a defensive end. So when you're talking about arm length, I don't know if once you get in the NFL, if, the difference between, a half an inch, a quarter, whatever, is that big in regards to what your production will ultimately be. I can speak from a wide receiver standpoint, because all wide receivers come in different forms and production comes differently in wide receivers, and there's an inside guy and an outside guy. So maybe those measurables that are so crucial for a defensive end isn't as crucial outside of there needs to be some speed. You see, if you are, and that's what gets Restrepo in trouble. Not only is he a smaller receiver, he has no speed based upon their time. He's not a fast guy. So maybe that is something that I've seen in this league. If you don't have the ideal size and you don't have the speed, then sometimes that is a hindrance. But when it's in receiver standpoint, a lot of that stuff that you look at as the measurables or some of the things that may not be common in a receiver, they tend to work out anyway. Even if you're a smaller frame guy, we'll find a place for you. I'm not sure if it's like that with defensive end in this league. You say, well, he has short arms. Does that work in the NFL? Well, a guy with 4.5 speed works in the NFL. A guy with 4.6 speed can work in the NFL. A guy that is not 6'1" can work, or 6 foot can work in the NFL. But can a short arm defensive end work in the NFL?
Scott in Shelbyville says, Adam sounds like all the GMs in the NFL when Trey Smith came out of UT and they passed on him because of his heart condition. And all of them very much live to regret it. Paralysis by analysis.
I would have too.
And then I find this from Bruce Feldman of The Athletic, did a mock draft where he talked to coaches and scouts and agents to put together a board that most reflects reality. Ruben Bain, number 7 overall to the Washington Commanders. And here is a quote from a Big Ten assistant coach. And this person is clearly talking to me. Quote, all those people who talk about how short his arms are idiots. This is just asinine conversation that people are having. Watch his film. He's going to be a dude. He's going to be an elite pass rusher. He gets off the ball. He has elite power. You turn speed into power, arm length doesn't matter. He'll neutralize their length. He's elite, man. Did you watch his pro day? He can get his right shoulder almost on the ground when he's turning the corner. And the violence he's coming out of it with, what he did in that drill is rare.
What I will tell you, this young man has been producing the minute he got on the field at University of Miami. He was producing. He missed some games his sophomore year, but he came back and he started to produce again. So again, and when during their national championship, appearance run and during the season, I thought Bain, and I still think he's going to be a hell of a player because he has one thing that you just can't. He has a high motor, and you can't coach that. Look at all the guys that we talk about with high motors, and I understand the measurables are not comparable, but when we look at Max Crosby, a guy like that, we talk about the high motor. Not only does he have the talent, but he has the high motor. Van den Bosch, a guy that was here. What did we talk a lot about him? He has a high motor. This guy goes constantly. This is what Bain has. Only thing he lacks is the arm length.
One texter points out Melvin Ingram, super productive in college,
Yeah.
first round pick, pretty decent career, but had to bounce around.
Did he deal with injury too?
I think so. And I don't think Ingram's arms were as short as Reuben Baines' arms, but Melvin Ingram's been in the NFL for 12 years. He has dealt with injuries. He's averaged 6.7 sacks per 17 games in his career. And Melvin Ingram, by the way, was the 18th overall pick in 2012. So a little bit lower than 4. 615-737-1025. When it comes to drafting an outlier, what is a line you will not cross? 615-737-1025. But coming up next, Robert Saleh did say something the other day that I'm a little disappointed to hear. And we will discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
I think it's going to elevate, whoever the backup is. I think it's really going to elevate that room. So Will is coming off his shoulder injury, and let's not close the door on him either. Trubisky's has had a tremendous career, and we're really, really excited to have him. But he's really going to elevate the competition in that room, and really excited for those two to have unbelievable offseasons.
That was Robert Saleh talking Will Levis and Mitch Trubisky. That was before the Tennessee Titans made the biggest news of the day. They signed Hendon Hooker.
Yes.
Vols fans, I'm not sensing the excitement. I thought Vols fans would be a lot more excited about this. It's your dude, Hendon Hooker. You've been wanting this for years. I can't wait to hear Joe Rexrode tomorrow. He might do cartwheels on the air, which may be, I would advise against it. Joe, he tends to get hurt doing mundane tasks. But that's not the thing I was talking about. We can talk about Will Levis, but that wasn't the thing I was talking about that I said I was disappointed in hearing Robert Saleh say. We will talk about Will Levis, and I'll get to the thing I'm disappointed about in a minute. But some reaction to our Ruben Bain conversation. One texter, James, says, Micah Parsons' arms are less than 1 inch longer than Bain. It is a dumb argument. Well, James, thank goodness for Pro Football Focus, which has a story about this with a nice little graph with the headline, Pass Rush Success over last 3 NFL seasons by edge defender arm length. Sub 31 inches. Pressure rate, 11.7%. PFF pass rush grade, 69.8. 31 to 32 inches. 14.9% pressure rate. 92.5 PFF pass rush grade. Sounds like to me, it does make a difference, even if it's only an inch.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I guess the numbers, they are.
So why are people still mock drafting Ruben Bain where they're drafting him?
Because
that's
they
a
feel
good
like
question.
They believe he's an outlier.
They believe he's an outlier. Precisely.
Well,
we'll find out together in a few weeks.
But if you read those, you would say, well, forget it. I can't do it. Can't draft him.
Well, as I read the quote from the Big Ten assistant coach who said people like me are dumb or idiots for talking about this, it's different when you watch the film. I admit, okay, I am not grinding Ruben Bain tape. I've got 2 kids to take care of. I don't have time to grind Ruben Bain film. There are plenty of other people who are much better suited to do that than me. So that's why I rely on the data. So yes, 1 inch or even 1/8 of an inch may not seem like a big deal, but apparently it does. And again, I'm okay to be wrong. I have never been afraid of being wrong. But here's the thing that Robert Saleh said that I did not like. He said that he has buried the hatchet with Liam Cohen. I'm upset about this. I wanted that rivalry in the AFC South. Remember, the two of them got into it at the end of a game last year. And Robert Saleh said some bad words. But Robert Saleh said at the owners' meetings, quote, "We're good. I know the NFL probably wants more of a story, but there's no story. I have an appreciation for Liam. Like I said, I used the wrong word when I was trying to give him a compliment, but that's all under the bridge. We've talked and put it behind us." No, do not put it behind you, Robert Saleh.
Listen, you can bury the hatchet, but I still got my fist. Let's go. Let's go. It should be a rivalry, man. Listen, we didn't like Bill Belichick, okay? We didn't like Brian Billick, okay? Baltimore didn't like Jeff Fisher. There needs to be that hatred. That hatred needs to come back, man. Keep it, Saleh.
As a reminder, Liam Cohen said to Robert Saleh, and just keep in mind, picture Liam Cohen in your head. You probably know what he looks like. Looks like kind of a dork. Then picture Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh could moonlight as a professional wrestler if he wanted to. And Liam Cohen said, "Keep my name out of your mouth. Keep my name out of your effing mouth." To which Saleh replied, "I will F your world up." We need this rivalry. We need to spice up the Jaguars-Titans rivalry.
Duval.
Precisely.
Right.
Robert Saleh would wipe the floor with that guy who just said, Duval. Yeah, see? I even want to punch Liam Cohen now every time I hear that. So I'm a little disappointed, guys. I'm a little disappointed in Robert Saleh for burying the hatchet. I wanted the first handshake on the field between the Jaguars and the Titans this season to be spicy, and now it's not going to be.
He wants
Spoken
to,
like a true professional wrestling fan.
he wants to have emotions, okay? He don't want to be emotional. All right.
Mhm.
So he's trying to, I don't want to be emotional about this Liam Cohen thing. But on game day, he's gonna have his emotions. They'll be there.
All
I'm
right.
sure.
Well, maybe he'll just see Liam Cohen and he'll turn red. We'll see. But again,
I hope so.
I'm a little disappointed in Robert Saleh. I was hoping that they would continue this feud like a professional wrestler would do. But
we all need a heel. Everybody needs a heel.
Right. And
Yeah,
Liam
so
Cohen
Cohen was the perfect heel.
Yes.
There could be another chapter though that rekindles everything. The first meeting, it could happen.
Okay. I'm hoping for it. Let's go to Chad in Hendersonville on our phone line. Chad, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey guys, good stuff. You know, we're talking here about Robert Bain, and you know, as far as the length of his hands and all that, and then you go to the statistics, and you know, this reminds me of Aaron Donald. You know, when he came out, he was a 3 technique. We had never seen a 3 technique that was 6 feet, 260 pounds. He was too small. He was undersized. There was a chart. Nobody's ever done it. You know, sometimes I get it's a piece of the puzzle, and I'm into using the piece of the puzzle. I mean, using in analytics and the eye test and all of it. And all of it tells me he's a heck of a football player. And so you can get caught up in these, you know, these little, there's always a stat, right? There's always a stat where the guy's has never done it. And to me, the stat is the eye test and putting the tape on and watching football players. I want football players. I don't want stats, analytics, maybe one small piece of the puzzle, but not to make my full decision. And at the end of the day, I think we're going to be saying this guy's a heck of a football player, just like we are saying and have said about Aaron Donald.
Thank you for the call, Chad. I feel attacked. That was I feel attacked by that call.
Honestly, I don't really remember the Aaron Donald discourse. That's going way back.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
I'll take his word for it.
The thing was, he was undersized for a guy at that position, but it didn't hurt him.
And look, Chad is right. It's important to blend the two.
Mm-hmm.
The eye test with the stats. And for me, for example, it's easier to do that in hockey because I am a puck knower, not a ball knower. I am a puck knower, though. So I rely more on the data in football just because I am not a seasoned scout when it comes to watching football. So I get Chad's point, and Chad could be right. Let's go to Dustin in Hopkinsville. Dustin, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
What's up, guys? So I can't believe no one is picking up on this. You're talking about the length of a man's arms. Okay, his wingspan. Let me give you an interesting little fact here. So, does anyone know what Will Anderson's total wingspan is?
No,
I do not.
76 inches. 76 inches and 5/8. I just looked it up. Reuben Bain's total wingspan, 77 and 5/8. Boys, how do they miss the damn chest? And this guy's got dog in him. You've got to have standards, but you've got this stuff on paper, for standards. But look, all I know is Reuben Bain wrecks a damn offense. All right? That's all I want, man. He's got the dog in him. If we get him, I'm telling you right now, them arms, they're going to smack the shit out of him.
Okay, Dustin.
You were going good, Justin, until you dropped the S word.
You were doing so well.
Yeah, you can't drop the S word, Justin.
Dustin, you might be temporarily banned. I know that's going to hurt because you like to call and text. We appreciate you.
Got a flag on the play.
But you can't curse. You can't do that.
I know you were passionate, man. We get it. We love it.
Come on, Dustin.
But there was a size concern with Aaron Donald coming out. And, obviously, again, he overcame that. He's won a championship, regarded as one of the best defensive linemen ever to play the game, and will be a Hall of Famer when his time is there for him to be nominated. But I get what he's talking about. Sometimes, man, listen, let me just turn on the tape. Get it. But in today's football, analytics and measurables, they are a huge part especially when you're talking about that high in the draft. Now, if he was projected to be a second round, there wouldn't be this much talk on his arm length. If he was projected a third round, there wouldn't be a lot of talk with his arm length. But when you are projected and they're looking at you like a top 5 pick, a top 10 pick, then that's when those things come into question. And the caller's right. Turn on the tape. Let me see him play. Okay, the guy is a freaking dog. He can go. He has endless motor. So those are all the pluses. He just has that one minus, and to some, it's become more of a concern than not. And then again, all of this can just be a smokescreen for a bunch of teams, and a bunch of teams may have him high on their draft board, and they don't care about the arm length.
Dylan in Antioch says, did Dustin get banned for saying damn? Did he drop a worse word that didn't make it to air? Yes.
Yes.
Dylan
Yes,
in
he did.
Antioch.
Yes,
he did.
Good. So good. That means we got it.
Yes, we got it. Yeah.
We dumped it.
Praise Jesus.
Mission accomplished.
Yes.
Unfurl the banner. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show next, but first, if you would like a 4-pack of tickets to see Monster Jam at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, April 14th, be caller number 5 at 615-737-1025. Caller number 5 will win a pair of tickets, a 4-pack, not 2, 4, a 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam at Nissan Stadium, Saturday, April 14th. Caller number 5 right now, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. After the show, Willie Donick is headed out to Dodger Stadium. He's in LA, where the Predators will take on the Kings late tomorrow night, the ungodly hour of 9:30 p.m. That's when the puck drop will be here in Nashville. It is April Fool's Day. Have either of you been the victim of a terrible April Fool's Day prank?
Not today.
Well, not specifically today, but ever?
Have I? I don't think I have. I think I got somebody.
What
Didn't I
about you,
get somebody
Willie?
on air a couple years ago?
I was one of the I would say probably thousands, maybe 100,000s of people who got duped by Sports Illustrated years and years ago. Me being a diehard Mets fan, I don't know if you've ever saw this, Adam, but you have to get your mind out of the way things are today. But back in the 80s, you could get away with this because there was no internet, things like that. But Sports Illustrated put out a cover story about this like miracle mystery pitcher named Sid Finch, who was like from the Himalayas.
I do vaguely recall this,
160.
actually.
He was like a Tibetan monk that threw like 170 miles an hour, but it was such a well-written piece that you had like real pictures. And I mean, it really was good. And of course, I was a teenager. I completely grabbed it, hook, line, and sinker. And for a while, everybody, like, it was fooling people for a while. And then eventually there was a total April Fool's joke. You could never do that these days. But for Sports Illustrated to do that back then was huge. So I completely got duped on that. Of course, there was no such guy.
I do vaguely recall that now that you mention it. I do want to get back to that clip we played of Robert Saleh talking about Will Levis and Mitch Trubisky. And that comment was made before the news today that the Titans have signed Hendon Hooker to add to the quarterback collection. And maybe this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the running backs and how Robert Saleh has heaped praise on players who ultimately are no longer on the Titans. But let's not act like Will Levis has a future with this team, right? Especially now that Hendon Hooker is in the mix. I could see Hendon Hooker being the third string quarterback behind Mitch Trubisky, who's behind Cam Ward. I don't think this town is big enough for all of those quarterbacks to be here.
Well, I mean, I think this was once they went and got Trubisky, I think everybody, and even, I'm sure Will Levis's camp is probably thinking, there's a high chance or high likelihood we will not be here after the draft is over with. I would be surprised if he's still on the roster after the draft. I think they would try to trade him during the draft, if anything. But yeah, they pretty much, once they went and got Trubisky, I think and this was outside of Hendon Hooker, but now you got Hendon Hooker. So is competition for the third quarterback position? I mean,
It certainly seems like everything is pointing towards they're going to find a new home for Will Levis. My question is this helping their leverage or hurting their leverage? Because if I'm out there and I'm somewhat interested in Will Levis, but I don't really want to give anything up for him, wouldn't I just say when Mike Borgonzi calls and says, "Hey, I got Will Levis, what would you give me for him?" I would just say, "You're going to cut him." Why waste my time? I'll wait to see if you cut him. So I don't know, because it does seem like everything is set up for them to move on from Will Levis. But if you're hoping to get something for him in a trade, I think Will Levis is a better quarterback than Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, I do too.
He's done more. Like he's had moments. Had a 4-touchdown game. Like that puts him ahead. You could argue that Will Levis is better than Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, but I mean, Will Levis's time here is fading and fading fast. I'm not saying his career is fading. I think he's going to play a good while in this league, and I think he could, right team, get the development that he needs. I think he can go on and be a starting quarterback somewhere.
If your goal is to trade him, does this help your goal or not?
I mean, I don't honestly. I don't know if it helps it or hurts it, because essentially you can cut Hendon Hooker. It's not like you tied to him, know, by money anyway. So you can theoretically you could just cut him. So I'm not sure if this helps or hurts the Tennessee Titans in regards to them wanting to move or potentially wanting to move Will Levis. I don't think another team would have any more leverage, or the Titans would have any less leverage. Now, if it was money tied to Hendon Hooker, like a large amount, then yeah, but there's no signing bonuses or anything, I don't think.
Dylan in Antioch says, years ago on 102.9 The Buzz, before there was the internet, a DJ did a huge April Fool's joke about Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam dying. He played Pearl Jam songs for like an hour, and he was crying on air, did a whole big stunt. Andy got in trouble for it and got fired, if I remember correctly. Fun Nashville fact.
See, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, you can't get away with that.
I'm not, pranking somebody's death.
No, you can't get away with that now. Carol in Nashville says, I got sort of April Fool today. A bit ago, I said, Alexa, play 102.5 The Game. Alexa said, now playing 1-2 Buckle My Shoe.
That was a good one. You got.
Derek, actually, I thought of you today when I saw this interesting news.
What's that?
Your boy, Izzo, said he seriously considered the Suns head coaching job last summer. Because Matt Ishbia, his former player, owns the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
And Izzo said he talked about being an NBA head coach.
Yeah, he talked about it. He ain't going nowhere. Izzo ain't going nowhere.
I cannot see that.
Yeah,
I can't see him.
No, Izzo's not good. No, that's like saying, like Mike Krzyzewski, he would have. No,
I could have seen Mike Krzyzewski coaching the Lakers. I think that was a thing at one point.
You couldn't see him coaching that team.
Well, I think it was different because I saw him coach the Olympics and he coached all of the NBA players. I'm like, okay, I could see it.
I couldn't see Coach K on the sideline of an NBA game. That don't look right.
Well, you don't have to worry about that now. Right. He's retired.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can't see Izzo coaching the Phoenix Suns.
Well, remember, I believe the Lakers were going to give Dan Hurley all the money before he decided to go back to UConn. Can you imagine Dan Hurley coaching in the NBA?
I can see Dan Hurley.
He would set the NBA record for most technical fouls in a season.
I can see Dan. But see, Dan, even though he has the championships, when you think of, UConn, I mean, like historically, you would put Calhoun's face to it.
Yes.
Like when you think of Michigan State, you would put Izzo's face or Coach K's face. Or, I mean, I don't know what you do, Rick Pitino. I mean, would it be
Rick Pitino would be Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
If you had to,
would it be Rick Pitino or would it be Cal?
That's a good question, Willie. Which coach would you associate more with Kentucky, Rick Pitino or John Calipari?
Well, I'm biased to my era, so I think I would lean towards Pitino. But Calipari was there quite a bit longer.
Yes.
I think, right?
I don't know.
That's a better question for Newt if he's listening. Yeah. Connor,
I'm not sure. He was there for a while. I know he was.
I think Cal was there longer at the end of the day than Pitino.
Willie, are you going to go cheer on Mookie Betts? Can you actually root for the Dodgers? Is that allowed?
I'm definitely rooting for Mookie. I will root for Mookie for sure. But they're playing Cleveland. I got a lot of relatives that are Cleveland fans. I don't know. I'll be more or less neutral for this. I'm excited just to see the show. Chavez Ravine is a great place. I've been there one time before. It's a great park. You feel like you're in 1963 when you walk in there. Everything about that park, it's like preserved, like from 50 years ago. You just feel like you're in that era.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, their team is just immaculate. It's unbelievable.
I mean,
the team that's put together.
Dodger Stadium is the site of one of the best episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
So it looks like Rick Pitino was at Kentucky from 89 to 97.
Okay.
So for like 8 years.
Okay.
So
he was at Louisville longer.
Oh, I didn't know
16 years.
Interesting.
Willie, don't forget, you have to find Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
And go say what's up to Magic Johnson.
Okay, and
Yeah.
tell them to chill out on the trailers.
Yeah, chill
Right,
out.
but
don't reveal too
chill out
much
on
in
the
the
trailers.
trailers.
Absolutely.
But the good news is, Willie, unlike Larry David, you won't need to hire a certain kind of worker to get to the ballpark on time so that you can take advantage of the HOV lane. You'll have company, I'm sure. So you won't have to do that.
Put Hal in the other seat. Y'all can just go.
You could do that. Who's going with you?
Esteemed members of our broadcast team, Hal Gill, Lindsey Rowley, Chris
See?
Mason,
So you got more than enough.
Nick Barnowski, Andy Bender.
Sounds a lot of y'all going.
What about
Y'all getting a Sprinter van or something?
What about high maintenance hers?
Yeah, he's not going.
High maintenance Hearst is working hard tonight. He's going to see the Kings. The Kings
Ah.
play the Blues tonight. Is that
Look
right?
at Max. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, he's working even
Big
though he
game.
ain't got to work.
Max is dialed in.
That's
Max
Max
is
for
dialed
you.
in.
That's Max for you.
He's locked in, as my son would say.
That'll do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. The Predators are also back in action tomorrow against the LA Kings. We'll get into the Predators with our friend Elliot Freeman. And who knows whatever we'll get into. By the way, Dustin in Hopkinsville, if you're listening, you haven't actually been banned from the
No, you
program.
haven't.
Just don't say the SH word on the air anymore, okay?
Yeah.
If you
Please
can
and thank you.
if you can do that for us, you can still call. But we'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Wednesday. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. We will talk to you tomorrow, 3 p.m. on 102.5 The Game here in the studio. Peace.